I'm Jared Gerritzen, and welcome to Eurogamer. What? Is that what I'm supposed to say?
Boo! Did I scare you? Nah, probably not. But this game might. My name's Ian Higton, and this is Daylight, an upcoming survival horror game with a procedurally generated twist. I caught up with Jared Gerritzen from Zombie Studios at an incredibly spooky location, right outside this year's Eurogamer Expo. And for those of you in the dark, I asked him to shed some light on Daylight.
Daylight is more of a Japanese style horror game versus the American horror style of chainsaws and giant monsters lumbering after you and chasing you. It's more psychological. So each time you play, you're going to find out different bits of the story and why the character is there and what is brought her there. And I don't really want to ruin that yet. But the idea is each time you play, you learn a little bit more of the story. You find out a little bit more of what's going on. And it's designed for multiple playthroughs. And there's actually a reason in the story why you're constantly lost. And the iconography of the maze and everything is actually there for a reason. So the horror is definitely more peaks and valleys and build up to smart horror. It's why we made the character talk, but she doesn't talk a lot.
What was that sound?
Because when you're watching a horror movie and if the character isn't afraid, you're not really afraid. And so there's a lot of elements that we're pulling from Japanese horror movies and just horror in general, which is a really cool thing. But the thing that I think that horror really drives and the reason why I stick through a really shitty horror movie is I want to find out what is going on with that world. And we brought Jessica on to write it with us, and she's really messed up in the head, and she's really bringing a lot of great stuff. So it's really kind of cool to see this game. What it was originally was supposed to be like a quick demo. It was supposed to be akin to a Slender Man or something like that. And it's evolved so much more over the past few months. We've got the full team working on it. We've got Atlas being a publisher on the PlayStation 4. They're partnering with the PC version, but it's the first Unreal 4 game to be coming out, which is pretty big. But it's also a game that was really developed for this kind of next generation of gamer. Not only the next generation of technology, but the next generation of gamer being kids that play games so much. Like the way that multiplayer, the way that Minecraft, DayZ, all these games that you can play the game hundreds and hundreds of times and it will never be stale. So what we did was when we got Unreal 4, we made a procedurally generated horror game. And that's what Daylight is. It's every single time you play, it changes. Every single time you go through that familiar doorway, it changes. So it's what a true horror game should be, and it should be scary every time.
Like all the best survival horror games, your character, who in this case is played by Jessica Chobot, the writer of Daylight, is weaponless. Instead, you only have a mobile phone, loaded with a few handy apps to help you navigate this ever-changing maze. Why go the mobile phone route though? Are you hoping for sponsorship from Apple or LG maybe?
So the mobile phone is there because everyone that were to wake up and they were to still have everything would most likely have a mobile phone. And when we started doing research for it and we went to sketchy places, we actually used our phones primarily. And it was kind of one of those really cool elements that is going to add to the gameplay. And there's elements that we've brought into the phone to kind of make it so it's more of a tool versus a gun. And honestly, I think that when we made Fear, that was one of the first action horror games, because that was still when Resident Evil was very bullet, each bullet costs this much, and Fear was this big massive shotgun and ghosts, and it doesn't really scare as much when you know you can protect yourself or shoot something. it's not as tense. So, you know, the idea of no weapons and true survival in the sense of if there's something, I'm going to get killed. It's a very hardcore mentality, the way that like a DayZ works, where you know, playing DayZ a lot this last year, the big thing that I noticed was if you didn't have that hardcore mentality of like, I'm gonna die, you were afraid of these things. And that's what we want to do, is we want to make it so it's like, if I die, I'm dead, and it's gonna suck, and I'm gonna have to go through that again. So there's reasons for a lot of the things that we're doing.
Hello?
You mentioned earlier that Daylight is going to be the first Unreal 4 game to be released. What does Unreal 4 bring to the game that will make it even more scary? How will it affect the atmosphere and the gameplay in a way that wasn't possible before?
We would never be able to make this game in Unreal 3 because of the way the tools that Unreal 4 brought are procedurally generated lights. So anytime that we would do any of this, we would actually have to build the lighting in Unreal 3. So in Unreal 4, everything can be moved around and just changed with the lighting looking amazing. The shader technology is just awesome as well. So those are the two really big pieces. But a technical thing that really spawned the idea of Daylight is called blueprints. And you can make volumes and just set parameters in the volumes for things to get placed. So that's how we're able to make these procedurally generated worlds. We generate the rooms and the connections in the maze, and then we have these volumes that are in the rooms that actually place not only the props and the items, but also the scares. So that's how the game's procedurally generated. Is if I play it for you, I don't know what's going to happen, and it's a massive pain in the ass to balance, but it's also massively scary because each time you press that executable or play the game, you don't know. Like in Resident Evil, I still remember that first time the dogs jumped through the windows. That scared the living shit out of me. The fifth time, not so much. So there are elements that we kind of put those red herrings where you might see that door like, oh, that's going to have this event, but it doesn't happen. But 3-4 times later it does, and it startles you again because you let your guard down, and that's the big thing.
So is it safe to say that you're scared to play your own game?
Yes, it's very safe to say I'm scared to play my own game. We actually we started recording some of our playtests in a really dark room with night vision camera, and there's some good startles on camera that are pretty cool. And then I hid under the desk once and jumped out behind one of our guys.
I know there's somebody here.
Thanks to the procedurally generated, never the same experience nature of Daylight, I can imagine it being a bit of a hit on the YouTubes, akin to how Slenderman was when it first went viral and all the big Let's Players featured it on their channels. What's your opinions on YouTube? Do you think Daylight would be a good fit there?
Daylight was actually really born from Unreal 4, of seeing what technology there was, and then also the fact that I'm a really big fan of YouTube and Twitch and streamers and all that. And watching one weekend a streamer playing a horror game, it was just one of those things where it's like, wow, this is the next thing. This isn't just multiplayer. This is actually, hilarious and scary at the same time. And that was when the gears started to turn of, we could use this procedurally generated stuff to allow, YouTubers to always make videos. That's why Minecraft, that's why multiplayer games, that's why DayZ, I feel, are so relevant with YouTube and just YouTubers, is because every time you play it's different. It's not the same thing over and over again. And that's why I think that these linear games are going to have to change a little bit more, because most people have their favorite YouTubers and they watch all the videos that they put up. And so if someone puts out gameplay of a linear game, they're going to see it 5 times and they're going to know everything, and all of those startles are going to go away. So with Daylight, your X, Y, and Z YouTuber will play it, and it'll be totally different each time they play. And every person that plays it will have a totally different experience. And that's what's really exciting, and that's what's really making us excited about, PlayStation allowing capture and streaming and all of that. That's huge.
Thanks, Jerry G. Can I call you Jerry G? Nah, it's too late now, I guess. As someone who lives in YouTube land and lists first-person horror games as one of my favourite genres, it's hard for me not to get excited about Daylight and the potentials it can bring me in the form of scares and video opportunities. If the procedural generation is done well enough to make every adventure truly unique, I could easily imagine live streams and Let's Plays of Daylight being incredibly popular, especially as the audience for this type of experience is continuing to grow rapidly. Prioritising gameplay that works well on YouTube is a clever and modern way to approach making a game, and it will be interesting to see how long it takes other, larger developers to acknowledge the YouTube factor and begin creating experiences that are a little less linear than the current AAA titles can be. As soon as I get my hands on Daylight, I'll be live streaming my adventures right here on Eurogamer's YouTube channel, so you can laugh at my scared face as a procedurally generated poltergeist makes me poop my pants for the 15th time. Just click on that on-screen annotation right there to subscribe to the channel, and you'll get that and loads more exclusive content and live streams popping up in your subscriptions feed as soon as they are available. Spooktacular!